Welcome to Transmissions Alt Mode, where we look at all the latest comics and other media featuring the Transformers. In this episode, we continue to explore the Energon Universe as we review Void Rivals number 5. Today is Friday, November 3rd, 2023, and this is episode 362 of Transmissions Alt Mode.
Welcome to Transmissions Alt Mode, the podcast that prefers 5 Faces of Darkness to 5 Nights at Freddy's. I'm your host, Charles, aka Big C, and I'm joined by the excellent Transmissions team. Jeremy, aka Yakko.
Hey, how's it going?
Apollo, aka Robo Apollo.
It's me. Hi.
And Daryl, the Cybertronian Beast.
Hey. What's this 5 Nights at Freddy's? Who's Freddy? Let's talk Transformers.
Were you waiting for an answer before you did the line? I thought it was rhetorical.
Don't know who Freddy is. Is Freddy a person?
You've heard of the games in the movie, right? Have you not heard of this at all? You've heard less of this than I have. Okay, there's a
who's spending many nights at Freddy's and why? Is Freddy cool?
It's a video game series. It's a video game series, and it's now a movie.
Awesome.
And it's a horror movie about basically Freddy's is Chuck E. Cheese, and the Chuck E. Cheese animatronics come to life and kill you.
So. I see.
And they're cute animals. They're animal-like creatures.
Sounds dumb. I'm sure my daughter will love it.
She probably already knows about it. Ask her about it. She'll probably tell you all about it.
Meh.
You probably wouldn't.
And then I gotta talk to her
about it.
Yikes. Father of the year over here. All right. Put all this out.
So much attitude tonight.
We start the show, as always, by thanking our Donatreons, those lovely people who support us on Patreon and PayPal. Thank you all so much for continuing to help us out and keep the show going. If you would like to become a Donatreon, just go to transmissionspodcast.com/support, and that's where you can sign up for all that good stuff. We got a lot of bonus content. We've got some bonus shows, including We Like Big Bots, a show done by Daryl and Dr. Pants, where they talk about some big bots. 10 episodes of that on our Patreon page. More to come at some point in the future. Keep asking them until they provide them. We've also got our Transformers Live Play RPG podcast, Empire of Rust. Seasons 1 and 2 are complete and available on our feed at transmissionspodcast.com/rust. And we've got a bonus show right now called the Rustford Files, a little side adventure featuring different characters, the same players in the RPG, but different. We're playing different characters for this little mini adventure. And we've got 3 episodes of that out. And next week we will have episode 4 coming this Monday. So just stay tuned for that at transmissionspodcast.com/rust. Should already come up in your podcast feed. And we've got our exclusive Transformers number 1, Skybound Transformers number 1 cover. This is artwork by EJ Sue, the only returning IDW artist to do a cover for Transformers number 1. And you can get that at our website, transmissionspodcast.com/comic. You can also get a limited supply at Heroes Comics in London, Ontario, where Daryl is, and at Fan in the Attic Comics in Monroeville, Pennsylvania, where I live. So if you are near either of those shops, you can go pick it up right there. But you can also order it on the website. We've still got several left, so you can come order them. And You can also get a bundle it with our previous comic, the T'Lawler 1 #1, if you have missed out on that and want to pick that one up. We've got a few of those left. We're selling through the rest of our stock. But a lot of people have been bundling the comics together. So if you want that, check it out. All right, let's jump into our comic review. Okay, and we are continuing with the Energon Universe. We're reviewing Void Rivals #5. So this was written by Robert Kirkman, artist Lorenzo Di Felice, Lorenzo Di Felice. Maybe, okay. Colorist Patricio Del Pecci, letterer Russ Wooten, editors Sean Makowitz and Jonathan Manning. So that is your creative team. There are many covers for Void Rivals #5, but and we talked about the cover that we were interested in. It was the Quintesson cover. It was, it's kind of a spoiler for the issue, but it's not that big a deal. But yeah, the Quintessons are in this issue, and we've got the 5-headed Quintesson right there on the cover. That is the 1 out of 50 retailer incentive, and that's art by Jay Lee. So if you could find this, or maybe order it from online, my store did not get enough copies to get this one, so I did not get this one. But you can probably order it online. But yeah, it's a cool cover, a cool looking rendition of the Quintessons here. So let's talk.
Jolly.
Yeah. So let's talk about what's happening in Void Rivals #5. Derek and Celilia languish in a prison cell on Zerta. Celilia joins her Agorian rival after Premier Zalalak learned she had seen the Agorian without his helmet. Derek is unsympathetic since Celilia betrayed him and got them in this predicament in the first place. He asks what she thinks their fate will be. Celilia answers that it's likely the Zertonian government will kill them both to keep them from revealing the big secret about the Zertonian and Agorian people. Also, since Derek is a high-value enemy agent, he'll be tortured first. Celilia apologizes to Derek for putting him in this situation just before the guards come to drag him out for his first enhanced interrogation session. After the guards leave, the prison cell door remains open, and Mistress Vil and her attendants enter to talk to Celilia. Celilia isn't happy to see them. She left their religious order long ago to become a warrior and pilot, but Mistress Vil responds that she is only doing what they allowed her to do. Celilia will always be a keeper of the light, and that cannot be undone. Celilia retorts that she doesn't follow Zerta's will but her own, while Mistress Vil counters that she's just parroting Zalalak's propaganda. Celilia stops protesting and collapses in despair. She asks Mistress Vil to leave her alone in her punishment and eventual execution, but Mistress Vil knows that Celilia is destined for great things, and her current situation is just another trial for her to overcome. Mistress Vil has come to give Celilia an item of power that will aid her in her future journey, but we don't see what it is just yet. We shift focus to the planet Quintessa. Having failed to make a deal with Shockwave on Cybertron, the Skuxoid has gone to Quintessa to negotiate the return of their Quintesson prosecutor. The Quintesson judge is not amused and ready to pass judgment on the Skuxoid for his insolence. The Skuxoid protests that he's just returning the prosecutor and wants to be compensated for that. The judge's 5 faces ask what happened to the Scorpia that was being transported to the planet Dominus. The Skuxoid hesitates, and the prosecutor blurts out how the Scorpio was destroyed on the Skuxoid ship. Then he was taken to Cybertron to be sold. The judge is not amused. The prosecutor is to be punished later, and as for the Skuxoid, the judge asks him to provide any reason why he shouldn't be immediately fed to the Sharkticons now. As the Alicon guards come to take the Skuxoid away, he begs for his life. He promises he'll give the Quintessons all his ships, including the Agorian and Zertonian ones he just salvaged. After hearing the word Zertonian, The Quintesson orders the Alicons to stop immediately. The Skuxoid may have gained a reprieve after all. Back on Zerta, Darak has been tortured for 3 days. He hasn't volunteered any new information, so the beatings continue. His questioner delivers another punishing blow to Darak's face before leaving him in darkness to ponder his fate. Darak is chained up alone in the darkness. He asks his companion Handroid for help trying to escape, but his Handroid has long since been removed. After a while, a small figure appears from the darkness. It's a Zertonian child who is here to rescue him. He cuts Darak's chains and returns his uniform, helmet, and Handroid to him. Darak is grateful, even though he doesn't know who this person is or why they're helping him escape. They crawl out of the prison cell through an underground series of tunnels to a secret hideout housing some other Zertonians. Their leader, Canella, tells Darak they are working to reunify the Zertonian and Agorian people and bring the two halves of the sacred ring together. And they need Darak's help. Darak doesn't know these people and isn't willing to work with them unless they can also rescue Celilla. Canella is surprised by this condition and reminds Darak that Celilla betrayed him and is responsible for his imprisonment in the first place. But Darak insists on rescuing Celilla before he'll help these rebel Zertonians. But Canella tells Darak he has no idea who Celilla really is. And back in the prison cell, we see Celilla holding the item Mistress Vil gave her, which looks like a strange green key that is marked with the symbols of both the Agorians and the Zertonians. And that is the end of the issue, to be continued. So again, we're continuing with the gratuitous Transformers references in Void Rivals. But I think hopefully we're getting closer to learning what the connection is with the Quintessons. I mean, the fact that the Quintessons knew about Zerta and Zertonian, I don't know what that means, but I guess we'll see. And Void Rivals, I'm enjoying this series. It's it's interesting. It's a little bit slow reading it month to month, but I'm curious where it's going, and I guess we're going to have an end of this story arc in the next issue, since it's a 6-issue arc, and then they'll be taking a break before issue 7 comes out in a few months. Yeah, I mean, I think the art works pretty well. I like all the kind of robotic-ish armor costumes that all the Zertonians and Agorians wear. I think the art on the Transformers characters is really well done. The Quintesson looked great. We saw we didn't see any Sharkticons. We saw Alicons, but we didn't see any Sharkticons. So hopefully they'll be making an appearance soon. And I did want to mention in the letters pages, in responding to one of the letters, Robert Kirkman does say he's really interested in getting some Junkions into the comic at some point. So cross your fingers. We'll see if that happens. But yeah, so I mean, nothing too amazing for this issue. Not a lot of action. Not really much happening. Some torture, I guess. If you're into some light torture, I don't know. There's a little bit there, but other than that, not a whole lot in this issue. But Apollo, we haven't had you on to talk about Void Rivals at all before. So and you just kind of binged through the first 4 issues before getting to this issue. So maybe you can give us your thoughts on the series as a whole, and then on this issue in particular.
Yeah, no, thanks for asking me, Charles. Yeah, as you said, I read issues 2 through 5 yesterday. So I had read the first one, of course, because we found out a certain Transformer was in it, which made me very happy. Jetfire is amazing. So, reading them all together was really good, actually. Like, I can't imagine waiting monthly for the issues. Like, it does flow together back to back really well. The one thing I'd have to say, though, is whenever, we have the main plot of the story, which is, this conflict, and is mostly focused on, Darak and Salila. Is that how you pronounce her name? We practiced this before the show, Salila.
I think that's right. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, how they're from these rival factions, and it's two planets that are around a black hole, and that the planets it forms like a ring around this black hole, and they're rivals, and they both wear this like these helmets, and they have like tech to help him. Like Dirac has his little glove that helps him, the assistant glove. It's like a smart glove with AI in it, and um it's just really an interesting idea, because they take their helmets off, realize, oh, we're people, we're like exactly the same. Like they just have a different jewel in the middle of their foreheads, but other than that, they're both people. Um, but it was really interesting, how, they come back to their home worlds, because they're two halves around this black hole, and they were getting ready to depart. And then Solila knocks out Dirac and brings him back as a prisoner to her world. And then they're like, her leader there was like, oh, did you see his face? And she doesn't say anything. And it's like, oh, she's thrown in jail too, because it's like, whoops, like she knows too much. And, it's interesting that the people in power both know all this stuff, that they're like the same, and it's like they're keeping their people oppressed and at war, it seems like. um I do like the Transformers references. It does seem kind of random though, because you'll be reading the Void Rivals story, and then all of a sudden there's like Sharkwave and S- um Skuxoid. Is that how you
Mhm.
pronounce his name? So um,
Yeah.
like he shows up with the Quintesson, and Shockwave's like, oh, get that thing off Cybertron. Like that's, how dare you? He like kind of goes off on him. And then um I do agree. Like, I like the art style. Like, I think the artist is really good at drawing a variety of things, Transformer characters, the various aliens with Transformers, and these aliens of the Argonians and the Zertonians. Um, I'm interested to see what happens more with this series. I did read all the notes at the end of the issues, and it seems like they're trying to make this as like a standalone property, but I don't know how they can, because it's based off of existing properties having the Transformer characters as cameo characters in it.
Well,
So,
Hasbro actually owns all the IP for Void Rivals as well. That's how they're doing it. Like
Yeah.
in the
okay.
agreement, like they announced that Hasbro completely owns all these.
Yep.
Okay, well,
So
that makes sense then.
yeah, so I mean, I don't know if maybe eventually there will be Void Rivals action figures at some point, and maybe we'll
Mhm.
get like action figures of Skuxoid or other characters that show up here. Maybe.
I
I
want
don't know.
I want a Android thing that my kid can wear.
Yes, that would be fun. Well, I could see them even doing a show out of this, because they did The Walking Dead for so long. They could do a live action version of this show, and like have the
Mhm.
Transformer characters be CG, especially because they're playing cameo appearances. So, yeah, but I'm enjoying it. I can't wait to see more, and see who else shows up from our favorite franchise in this story.
Cool. Any specific like thoughts on issue 5, like the like on what happened? Like, I mean, not a whole lot happened here, but it's
Um, yeah, I do have some specific thoughts. Like, we all showed the covers. Well, most of us. I didn't show mine during trips to the store for the main show. Um, it had a focus on torture in it quite a
Mhm.
bit, and so,
Yeah.
if you're not into that, you're probably gonna have to like skip those pages or just look really quickly. Because it is pretty graphic from what I remembered seeing, and on the cover they even showed Dirac like he's like tied up, so
Mm.
it's kind of like
Yeah.
ooh. Um, but I thought it was good. I thought it was interesting. We heard more about Celia's past, that she was, tied to, I'm guessing, this like religious group, the Keeper of the Light, and Mistressville. Something I did notice, so with the art, is it seems like our main like heroes in this story seem really small in comparison to most of the other people. And I don't know if that's just the camera angle or like the angle for the artwork, but like the people seem like, like the leaders, like way bigger than like in scale to our leader or our main characters. So I don't know if, I'm guessing that's just a style choice for the artist. But story wise, it wasn't a ton, it was just kind of like, he gets tortured. Durat gets tortured. We learn more about Celila's past a bit. We got the Skuxoid, and the Quintesson is like, oh, Zertonian technology. Like, I want to know more. Like, so we know Zertonia, or the Zertonians have some sort of special technology that the Quintessons want. What that technology is, we don't know. I thought that was really interesting, but I'm also focused more on the Transformers stuff in this too. Even though there wasn't a lot on it. So I mean, a lot didn't happen, but I still enjoyed it. I thought it was still entertaining to read.
Cool. All right, Daryl, what were your thoughts? No fighting in this book, unfortunately.
This one was pretty slow. Yeah. The these issues continue, and this was my critique with number 4. And you touched on it in your review. The Transformers aspects are shoehorned into these issues, and again, if you had taken out the Quintessons and the Skuxoid part, the issue would have continued without a hiccup, right? There would have been nothing, no need for, you would have thought, you wouldn't have, taken a second thought as saying something's missing from this issue. You know, it's completely separate. I have faith that they're going to bring bring it all together, and it's all going to make sense at some point. But we're 5 issues in, and it's not really making a difference. Obviously, the Transformers main series has started, and we all know why it's a main. The larger Energon Universe and blah 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 blah. But this, the Transformers aspect of Void Rivals is as a completely shoehorned aspect at this point, and um, we honestly, I mean, I see it as them placating to the Transformers fans as to keeping us buying the Void Rivals comics, because we're gonna do it. Yeah, all know we're gonna do it. Yep. I'm checking out other areas, and I can see that, other online shops. I can see Void Rivals is being sold out in places when normally wouldn't. There's a lot of hype for this stuff still, and I'm very surprised because Transformers books in the past, like, they have not had this kind of, heat on them. And so I'm excited about what's coming and what what kind of interest and how it kind of sustains. But issue 5 was a bit of a letdown. It didn't really do much for it. I was assuming as the issue came to its conclusion that the end of the book was going to be another Transformers kind of, that perhaps this key that she was holding was the key to Vector Sigma or some bullshit like that. Like, another shoehorned bit like, oh, Transformers fans are going to go nuts. But it's not, or maybe it is, and it just looks different now. Or it's a key that's going to transform and do something crazy, but it's probably not. Anyway, this issue was a bit of a letdown for me, just in the fact that nothing really of consequence happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Fair enough. All right, Jeremy, what were your thoughts?
I mean, I'm still really enjoying this. I think the sci-fi story they're telling, it's really interesting. Although, yeah, this was a very boring, slow issue. I do feel like um, it didn't make me lose interest in it, and you know, just I'm hoping the next issue is going to ramp up the action. Kind of, this is where they had to have a lot of plot dump, just kind of to move the story along. We had to have some of the foundation that was put in here, but the art was still stellar. I really am enjoying the art in this. I do agree with what Daryl says about the Transformers references. If there were not Transformers in this book, the sales would drop off significantly, I am sure. Even though it is a good story, and like what you said, Apollo, maybe it could be a TV show. I'm not seeing anything in this series that would make it not be able to easily be made into a sci-fi TV show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it just, it looks like it is made to be in multiple formats like that. I think that would be fun. And again, I want a live action Handroid. You know, make that toy. Although I thought when they introduced Android, I thought it was like surgically attached to Derek, and from this issue, it just looks like it's a glove, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, so it's interesting. Um, One thing I wanted to bring up was you mentioned the letters page, Charles. One of the things in the letters page that Kirkman, I believe, answered. Someone asked about. They said that they love Transformers, but they found IDW comics were hard to follow because of how text heavy they were. And I would like to say they didn't read all the IDW comics because there are many books that are not. But anyway, the answer here was that from Kirkman that he said the IDW did amazing work in the 17 years they had the license. They kept the flame burning and introduced some great characters and their concept and even new characters to the mythos. And he calls out Windblade. And then he said some people love wordy, dense comics and some people prefer things to be breezy. And with Daniel Warren Johnson at the helm, I think you can count on the art having plenty of room to breathe. But I'm sure at some point we'll have an issue or arc that could be downright Claremontian. So it seems like the Daniel Warren Johnson part of Transformers is going to be in Daryl's wheelhouse and be action heavy. And although it will have wrestling references, Daryl.
Suplex.
Yeah. But, you know, then it does look like there are going to be more of the more dense, wordy stuff that's more in like me and Charles's wheelhouse. And, you know, I like that he called out Windblade. So I think we can expect to see her at some point down the line. But also when he mentioned new concepts. So, I mean, a lot of people are worried about the progress that IDW had made introducing different concepts and stuff that have made it into even the toy lines. And now with the new series, it's kind of going back to basics. So, you know, it's yet to be seen, you know, what's going to be introduced, but I'm hoping that some of those carry on. And this gives me a little bit of hope. So, you know,
Yeah.
I do like that they aren't acting like IDW didn't exist. You know, like sometimes when a license changes, it's just like they ignore anything that the previous license holder had or had done. So, you know, I just wanted to call that out. The letters pages in these books have been really interesting to me. So be sure to check those out when you read these books.
Cool.
I was just trying to find it because you kind of reminded me of it. There was a Reddit post on either the comic books forum or comic collecting subreddit, and somebody was talking about the Transformers comic, and almost every single respondent was talking about how they were there for Daniel Warren Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
That was who had brought them to this. Somebody said, a few of them were saying, I was aware of Transformers as a kid, but I'm a big fan of Daniel Warren Johnson, and I can't wait to see some robots pulling off wrestling moves. And I'm like, okay, well, at least you're here, right?
Mhm.
And
If we can keep a fraction of them,
right, and that's the idea. But a lot of these people in this, especially if this is a snapshot of the amount, like the demographic that's buying the book, it is a lot of Daniel Warren Johnson fans and a lot of Transformers fans, but there doesn't seem to be that many crossover, right? So there's a lot of Transformers fans, and that's great. But they've been with the series forever. There's those of us that were back when Marvel had it, or followed it to Dreamwave and followed it to IDW, and now with Skybound, right? We're gonna follow it because we're diehards, But there's those that are with it now because Daniel Warren Johnson has it, and he's going to do with it what he always does with stuff and makes it awesome and looks great. And when I worry that if he's off the book, will the heat die down and will everything just go away? And is it just because he's drawing it, or is it because he's writing it? Which part are these the fans of? Because his art is very, it's got a certain style to it that lends a bit of credence to this book and gives it a certain style. It's very action. It suits action very well.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
and so his writing is, I mean, I'm a big fan of it because it's not wordy. It's very light on the words, right? So I'm interested to see what happens after these 6 issues finish, and where he goes, who picks up the mantle, what happens. We have no information on that.
Yeah.
But this demographic that seemed to be a snippet of in this Reddit's subreddit, a lot of them seem to be buying this book because of who was writing it,
right.
or on
Or
our duties.
drawing.
I have no idea.
Yeah, and I
Hmm.
go back to what I mentioned with our review of that first issue. It seems very much designed to pull in the casual fan, not a hardcore fan. So
Mhm.
if we can just get a fraction of those people to stay around, like we did with the live action movies that stuck around the franchise, we didn't keep everybody. So I
Mhm.
think just kind of grow the Transformers comic audience, even a little bit. I think it'll be helpful.
Yeah,
But we're not going to get once he's off the book, there's going to be a big drop.
I think so.
Yeah. Maybe there's another big name artist waiting in the wings
Yeah.
to take over.
Mhm. Yeah, what I overheard at my comic book shop, like if we're going to talk about that, is that people like the art style for this new Transformers book because it's really simple and it's very expressive. The faces are very expressive and it's easy to follow the action.
Mhm.
All right. Well, yeah. I mean, and we've got issue 2 coming next week, so we will take a look. I don't know if we'll get to review it next week, but we'll see. So, all right.
I don't think issue 2 is not next week. It's the week after.
It's next week when this show goes up. This show's going up on
Right.
Friday.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Yes, you're right. Sorry,
Time
everybody.
machine.
Sorry, everybody.
You forget the time slipping.
I do.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's our review of Void Rivals number 5. So that will do it for this episode of Transmissions Alt Mode. As always, at the end of every episode, we give a shout out to our Masterpiece Donatrions. Those are the folks who continue to support us at the highest level on Patreon. And we really appreciate that. So that's why they get a shout out in every episode. So thank you once again to John 4X Lemongood and Demon Tech 82. You are amazing. And Apollo, you're also amazing. Thanks for joining us this week and last week on Transmissions and Transmissions Alt Mode. Why don't you tell everyone where they can find you online?
Oh, thank you. It's always a pleasure to be on here with you guys. So I am still on the site formerly known as Twitter. I am also on Instagram and Blue Sky at Robo Apollo. I am back to making art regularly. I've posted multiple things this week, and I even posted something, even including Sunday. Like I drew a sound wave too. I mostly draw Starscream, but I did draw a sound wave. So yay. So you can find me there. And then I'm also on the Transmissions Discord, where it's a really safe, fun place to hang out. There is a Wednesday night hangout session. I think it starts 8 p.m. Pacific time. And there's a group of us that go on and talk. I try to join those for a little bit. I can't always join, but there's a regular group that's always on to show off what they bought for their trips to the store.
Nice. And you can join our Discord at transmissionspodcast.com/Discord. And that's where you can get a link to the invite and join the server. All right, everyone. That's it. We'll see you next week. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Later.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Transmissions. If you'd like to join the conversation, travel to our Discord channel at transmissionspodcast.com/Discord. Want some cool transmission swag? Feast your eyes on our transmissions gear at transmissionspodcast.com/shop. If you'd like to support our podcast, go to transmissionspodcast.com/support or tell your friends about our show. We'll see you next time.